Hey guys, what is up? It is me, Eddie G, coming to you live right here on Facebook for a very special edition of an EG Live here on a Thursday. Had some strange things happen, obviously, in the social media world recently with Twitter getting hacked. So what I wanted to do was bring a good friend of the show, one of the featured guest speakers at this year's Social Media Day Virtual Summit. He is number 16 in your programs, but number 1 in your hearts. Give a big old virtual applause, standing ovation for my friend, Mr. Troy Sandidge. What is up, Troy? How you doing, my friend?
What's up, digital world? Hey, Eddie. It's been great. Man, what a crazy 24 hours it's been.
It's wild, isn't it?
Yeah, it's insane.
So for those that did not know, please remove yourself from what under rock you are currently living and get back on board. No, it's kind of funny because my wife and I had gone to dinner and I was telling somebody about it and they're like, what? So
right,
for those of us that don't have lives, we know what's going on. No, so for those that you did not know, I just have an article here that I'm going to read just a little bit from. So it says, some of the world's richest and most influential politicians, celebrities, tech moguls, and companies were the subject of a massive Twitter hack on Wednesday, which was yesterday. Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, Michael Bloomberg, Bill Gates were among some of the accounts pushing out tweets asking for millions of followers to send money to a Bitcoin address. Clearly, I am not cool enough to get my Twitter account hacked and ask for Bitcoin. What do you make of this, Troy?
It just, we had this kind of, before I get to that point, we had the micro conversation of like, these are like some of the most influential people, not in the United States, I mean, in the world. Millions of followers, they're authoritative figures. A lot of agencies of various ones manage their accounts. I'm like between two-factor authentication, between, password management, between having a list of all the people who have access to all these different things and all the protocols protecting their phones and IP address and all this stuff. How easy, with all that being said, it is to just infiltrate. And it wasn't just like a funny little tweet making fun of someone. They're capturing Bitcoin, which is like one of the most untraceable currencies to date.
Yes.
To even try to do all these things. And they got like what? I think between 100,000 to $250,000 somewhere in there, depending on who you ask.
That was one of the last numbers I saw. Yeah.
That is crazy. And that's scary.
Yeah.
Not to put the fear for brands, but to some reality, if they can get hacked, and we kind of will dive deeper on how that might have happened.
Yeah.
What are you doing as a brand?
I could tell you this from straight up just personal experience. Back in May, my Facebook account was hacked. I have two-factor authentication on, and it was still hacked, and I lost 2 of my personal pages. So I lost my business page, and I lost my public profile page.
What did Facebook do? I know you reached out numerous times. Did they even like try to help, or they just no?
They were basically, sorry about your luck. That's pretty much what they said in a nutshell.
Imagine them saying the exact same thing to Joe Biden, to Elon Musk, to Bill Gates. Like, it's a flawed system, no matter if I have a blue check or not, or no matter if I'm like top of the funnel or not. It shouldn't be like that.
The thing I would say, so this is what Twitter said in a statement, that the company detected what they believe to be a coordinated social engineering attack by people who successfully targeted some of our employees with access to internal systems and tools. We're looking into what other malicious activity they may have conducted or information they may have accessed, and we'll share more here as we have it. That's what Twitter themselves said.
And they said, like you said, a lot of that potentially could be an inside job. And what threw me off was that they were saying it was internally one of their tools.
Yeah.
That they were using that bypassed all these things we had in place from a security standpoint. Because what they do is basically change the email. Once you change the email and reset the password, you're in. And if you're not looking at it every second of the day or have a notification about that, there you go.
You hit the nail on the head, because what a lot of people keep saying is like, oh, well, just use two-factor authentication. That it doesn't really matter, guys. It doesn't, clearly, because they targeted internal employees, so they would have access to their emails as well. And that's all, unless you have it set up to go to your mobile phone, which even they can clone numbers these days. I used to work in the banking industry, right? A private sector company. I would regularly, I'm talking once a month, C, 256-bit encryption with multi-factor authentication. More than 2, I'm talking 3 and 4, get hacked monthly to try to steal money from banks. It's not as hard as you think it might be to do.
And for those who don't realize it, the email spam scams, COVID-19, because of COVID, there's been more scams of people, hey, get the new vaccination, or if you want to get your first, I guess, early testing and all these different things, and people are buying into that.
Yep.
This is a big reality. This is a big thing. And this shouldn't be the thing that, oh, I should check my accounts and check my passwords and have a crisis communication plan and all these other things. Y'all should have been doing this way before this happened.
Yes. I can tell you when that happened to me, and just personally what I use for passwords, I actually still have a password generator. So it's not like I'm using like Garrison 123 is my password, right? I mean, It's like numbers and letters and that have no specific value whatsoever. It's just a random generator, and my account was still able to be hacked.
It's crazy. I told someone, I was like, well, I use Google passwords. They'll automatically like a 16-bit, different symbols and everything. Yeah, but what's your password to your Google account?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you got all these different things locked on. That's great. That's perfect. But you know how easy it would be if they just access your Google account? They can just access your passwords again and keep it moving.
Yep. Oh, we got some comments here. Let's see here. Angela P. Almost, a great realtor that's killing it with live streaming. Nice new setup. Thank you very much. Patricia, I am Patricia Ruiz Cantu. I hope I'm not butchering your name. Hello. Oh, Roger in the house. What's up, brother? How you doing, man? Good to see you. So yeah, what people don't understand is these people are professionals. Okay. Yeah. This is what they do. So whatever precautions you put in place, you kind of hope they're going to protect you. But like I said, from personal experience, it doesn't work. And look, I'm nobody, and they hacked my account. I couldn't imagine being Jeff Bezos and have that and getting money stolen from me, you know?
Yeah. And when it comes to money, that's a serious thing. And I think there's another thing that comes to by this is that for all those who are trying to buy followers, or maybe it's just to have a volume of people, but not a quality type of conversation when you're building a community. When these things happen and you don't have an established brand voice or a tone or things like that, your community may not even know or care or even tell you like, hey, this doesn't sound like you. We know this is not right. We know this is kind of spammy or whatever. I'm going to inform you. Not only do that, I'm going to be a brand advocate, going above and beyond and letting people know, do not do this. This isn't them, blah, 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 blah type of thing. But again, this is another benefit of why if you go from the foundation bottom up of quality, constant community, even when these things unfortunately probably will happen because of how we are in the social digital world, you have a people that's going to back you, support you, and not give into, PR damaging and everything else. Versus if you didn't, now you're going viral now for all the wrong reasons. And it's just like, oh my goodness. Yeah.
And that's another good point is like, if you're one of these people that just look at, I've got 10,000 followers, but I bought 9,999 of them. It doesn't matter, right? You could be honestly, because you're just preaching to a fake choir. Whereas like to pull in from my personal experience of my account getting hacked, they were after my ad account because they were trying to sell cars and they ran a whole bunch of ads. Now Facebook was like, Eddie Garrison, Clover Media, he never runs ads. Why all of a sudden is he trying to run $6,000 worth of ads?
Right.
And so they put the kibosh on it really quickly. So I wasn't out any money. But unfortunately, what they did was they went in there and they kicked me out as an admin. So I couldn't even get back into my own accounts. Now, like I said,
I think you said over 500 lives that was lost.
Yep. They're gone.
I can't even. Oh, that break my heart.
And it's not, everybody's like, oh, well, just they're backed up on StreamYard. Yeah, but I've been live streaming for like 10 years. So I haven't always been using StreamYard.
Right. Oh.
So Twitter continued. So they have a little bit more to say here. So it says, we have locked accounts that were compromised and will restore access to the original account owner only when we are certain we can do so securely. Which brings me to the next point of this conversation that I wanted to have, and that's about verification of social media accounts. Everyone chases this little check mark for whatever reason, like it's some kind of status symbol, and that's basically what it's turned into these days.
Oh, yeah.
I am of the opinion that the verification system in the beginning should not have been about like some plateau that you've reached at. It should have been verifying that you are Troy Sandidge. That's what it should have done. Everybody should be verified.
I see a Larry comment. I've tried getting my blue badge on here, but alas, I'm not worthy. None of us apparently are worthy. And I've heard, and guess what? I mean, you look on YouTube, one of the top things in the marketing industry is how to get verified in 2020. Sometimes this is literally the same video and they just change the title. And a lot of the stuff is outdated. You can't submit a form anymore. Or if you have noticed, maybe a week or two ago, I shared a tweet. And I think, in the group that you also shared it too, of talks of they maybe bring the submission form back through the process, kind of similar to how Instagram has it for their verification process. And everyone's like, I need it. Now, there is some validity to, if you have the blue check, you might get a better eye test. And it's all about marketing yourself. I get it. Sure. If Twitter's like, I'm going to hand you a blue check, you mean to tell me I'm going to turn it down? Probably not.
No,
probably not.
Yeah.
And I know that some marketers have gone through great lengths of spending 10 grand to get it in with someone at PR at Twitter to communicate that and go back and forth. And hopefully by in 3 months, you get the blue check. Now, I'm not saying if you are working with the PR person, they're building out a content strategy, get you validated links and news sources and building that PR over time, and then present yourself back to Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, whatever, to get that blue check. All for it. If you have the financial ability to do so and it makes sense and you feel like you need that, especially if you're an up-and-comer in whatever industry you're in, I get it. However, to our point, and what I think Eddie is saying and what I echo a lot, blue check doesn't make you or break you. If you provide value, if you can build your community, if you can be consistent, if you can bring something that's tangible to the table that people want, whether that's through your mind, whether it's your product, your service, whether that's your conversations, whatever, they will find you, they will nurture you, they will love you, they will embrace what you're trying to do as a CTA. And that's what we're trying to really instill. And sometimes when we say these things as marketers with clients and everything else, they're like, but I still want the blue check. It's like you say all this stuff and they're just like, yeah, but that I associate success with the blue check, nothing else. I'm like, what about your bottom line? What about revenue? Exactly.
I see accounts on Instagram that have no posts, like 0 posts that are verified. I've yet to determine this system. So I don't understand. Like I said in the beginning, I'm all for everybody being verified because that proves who you are, right? It shouldn't be this kind of vanity thing that, oh, look at me, I'm verified, I'm better than you. That's not it. Larry Roberts, what's going on, my friend? I've tried getting my blue badge on here, but alas, I'm not worthy. Yes, you are not, Larry. You are not worthy. That is incorrect. Alfredo says, why is verification of a social media account with a large following important?
I think some of it's necessary for big accounts to some degree. A lot of spoof accounts out there.
It is, yeah. And it gives, to whatever extent, it gives some kind of validity to the account. Like, like a news outlet maybe needs to be verified. So, that it's MSNBC, Fox, whoever. Right. I agree with that. But I still go back to my point where everyone should have to go through a verification process, because right now I could go start a Troy Sandidge account and who would know?
Luckily, I got my Troy Sandidge username on lock too, just in case.
I'd change it from find Troy to where's Troy.
I know, right? I wrote an article like 4 or 5 years ago. Again, marketers evolve, and back then I was like, I need that blue check because that's gonna rain down the clients and the money, and I'm like, I need to work on that. And so I focused a good year on it. As you can see, I still don't have the blue check. Doesn't matter. But my point was, I wrote an article piece about, what about having multiple or various levels of verification where it's a green check if you're in social industry, it's a blue check if you're a celebrity or political person, it's a red check, all this. So it's staggered, but it makes sense per the industry or the space versus just a blue check that could be what is needed or have no value whatsoever.
Right.
So that was something I had sent tagged to push a lot of it. Twitter didn't go anywhere, but it made sense to me to just have some. Let's try to find a balance here, because now the blue check is such a coveted thing. And now you saw, the people who had the blue check, they couldn't post for a while. As the people without the blue check, this is our time to rise up.
That's right.
It's like, oh, this is crazy.
I was like, all I could think about was like, we've been watching this show on TV called Snowpiercer, like tailies, one train. That's all I could think about. Like, ooh, I don't have a blue check mark. I'm in the power now, but I don't know. It just, what blows my mind is people think that like this stuff cannot happen. And it can very easily happen. Like I said, it happens probably every day in every industry, specifically in the banking industry. And the only reason I speak to that is because I worked in it for over a decade, and people want free money. So they are looking to find a way around systems. Right. That's what people do all day, every day. That's what they do with their lives. They try to steal from people.
And that's just the reality. And then you have the other conversation of, well, what's the point of growing my brand if it can be hacked? That's like saying, what's the point of going outside if you can get a paper cut or bit by a mosquito? Like, you got to live your life. You got to grow your brand. Yep. We're not saying that should be an obstacle that just should stop you from progress and success and marketing yourself and building your brand up for these things to happen. That's not the goal. Right. It's just be aware, prepare yourself, and also have a crisis communication plan in place, have these systems in place, and know how to respond. The quicker, the better. But if you're going to be quick, you have quality. Because if you're doing quick and you don't have a quality to it, it may burn you twice.
Yeah. And I couldn't agree more. Specifically, and I'm speaking to people that manage brands' social media accounts, you already need to have this stuff in place where you have it in a Google Doc that if you get hacked or something happens, you can just literally copy and paste it and be ready to go. You got to have that bullet in the chamber because social media is 24/7, 365. Someone will put you on blast with the quickness because you're a brand, and for whatever reason, that's what turns them on. I don't know, but I mean, there are
screenshots, y'all. Screenshots. Nothing's deleted. Nothing's dead.
Exactly. If it's posted, it's there forever.
Yeah.
Regardless if you delete it or not, because all I got to do is hit print screen, and I've got it.
And I tell people all the time as marketers, and Eddie, you know this. We'll be on our phones. We'll be trying to tweet something on our own personal account, and then we look and we're like, "Wait a minute, this ain't my account. This is the client's account or a business account." And you're just like. And you could have went all the way. And sometimes you actually supposed to. You're just like, oh, I can leave it. Or just like, no, I got to delete it. Again, if it's just that easy, just out of nomenclature of what we're doing, just as marketers, and we're trained professionals that do this every day, and we can slip up by tiredness, busyness, or whatever. Imagine the level of intensity that could happen if that could be pulled to take money from your account, money from your client's account, irreparable damage, PR blast that just hurts them all the way through. Security is a very valid thing that needs to be addressed for marketers. We kind of forget that. I'm going to grow an agency by tomorrow. I want clients, but if you don't have everything secured, you can't secure the bag.
Right. I can give you an example of me tweeting to the wrong account, carrying on a conversation, thinking it was me, but it wasn't. It was a restaurant that I did social media management for. And I'm like sharing pictures of me and my buddies out having a beer. And all the time I'm under this restaurant's name. It was, wow. Look, I made a mistake. It happens. It's going to happen if you do this.
We're human.
Yeah. It just is what it is. And everyone found it funny. Even the restaurant found it funny. So truth be told, I even left them up.
So, since then, I've had a lot of folks reach out, but what should I do? What can I do? What can I do to avoid this? And it's not like I'm trying to be a negative Nancy where it's like, well, if they're a trained professional hacker, a black hatter, it doesn't matter what you do type of thing. But there are things that you can do to hopefully alleviate this, or at least be prepared for when this comes, if this even happens to you, your brand, your business, your clients, and things like that. One thing we've already talked about, if you don't have two-factor authentication, not just to your social media accounts, a lot of the people, as I mentioned earlier, sync it to their Google account. Have that for your Google account, please. Please. I beg of you. Please. So what? You got to do a 6 code through text message that takes maybe 2 minutes of your life. That's better than someone getting hacked in another state of location that you came from a conference or trade show on and didn't know about it, weird IP address, whatever. It happens.
Yep.
Let's do that as one. And another thing, again, I mentioned a few times the crisis communication plan. What does that consist of? Having maybe, like you said, you might have another administrator on your Facebook accounts. They don't really do anything, but there is a backup if you need another person in. You can have that for other accounts as well. Having all your passwords there, having your brand messaging language of what you're doing. If this happens, I need to go this. Depending on your brand, you may have to consult legal action right away. Yep. All these things need to be in like a document in a system where you know a reference right away. So that way, the faster you can get through this process, the faster you can respond, the faster you can mediate the explosion. Because in social media, the longer it's there without some type of conversation, the worse damage it can cause.
Yeah, definitely. I couldn't agree more. And to even piggyback on that, when you create these documents in these files, make sure multiple people know where they are and how to access them and how to post them. Because like you said, we're human. We have lives. You know, we even get to go on vacation sometimes. So if I was on vacation and something happened to one of my customers' accounts, I might be on a cruise ship. So I don't know what's going on. So they need to be able to easily get to it and easily understand what they need to do. But yeah, I couldn't agree with you more too, to have another person on all of your accounts as an admin. Like all the pages I manage, my wife is actually an admin on there too. She has no idea that she is, but she is. But that gives me a backup, right? Yeah. So if someone were to hack my account again, I can get in because they're not going to hack her account. But hopefully, but yes. I'm going to tell you guys, like, I didn't have like this massive following, like all these followers, I had a couple of thousand, but they're all gone. And that it's not even the followers that mattered. It was all those live streams that I lost. That's what really hit home for me.
So with that point of live streams, is there anything that you're doing differently now since then that maybe you weren't doing before? Because if we're talking about live streams, people want to get more involved with live streams. How do I back this up? Or what's the easier way to manage that library of content you're creating?
So what I do, Facebook also allows you to do this, but StreamYard makes it quite easy for me as well. So when I'm done with this one, so like when I'm done here, yes, it's saved to my Facebook page and in my group, but I go into StreamYard and download it and then just save it to an external hard drive. So I have like a couple of external hard drives. One's, just for live streams. One's just for video content. One's just for photography. So that's what I've been doing now ever since I actually started when I started with StreamYard. So I have all of those backed up. But I wasn't doing that prior to that, which is shame on me. Other than that, now I am changing my password on all my social media accounts every month.
And I'm also, for me, I've changed them all to be different passwords per account. Some people just think if they just change it and link to, no, I change each one for each one, like throughout the time. And even still, that feels like sometimes that may not be enough. That's interesting because I've been doing that too. I know some people say that they get by just streaming it to Facebook and YouTube and think that's good enough. But then again, that happens anywhere. Like, what if let's just say, for the sake of argument, that these social accounts, we're looking at TikTok, right? We don't think, chances are they're probably not going to shut it down. But what if they do? What if that opens the door for other social platforms to reconsider things or whatever, and it's off the grid? If you have this content saved for you, guess what? You can repurpose it on your website. You still can reference it at a later date somewhere. Something's going to happen, and you have that there. That's just another safety precaution us as creators and marketers should really consider, especially for our clients and ourselves.
Yeah, well, definitely, because I love YouTube because basically it's a free video hosting service. But again, if they were to ever go down or my account got hacked or whatever, I lose all those videos. So no, people, back your stuff up. That's what you have to do. That's just what it is.
Yeah.
And it may take 2.5 hours to save a 5-hour live stream. Just do it. Honestly.
And it's the same thing as insurance. You hope to never have to use it.
Yep.
But the moment you need it and you don't have the right coverage, you're going to be wishing and praying that you did. It's the same thing for us as marketers, having that crisis communication process, having 2-factor authentication, take the security precautions, downloading your creative library. This is what you put the effort in. You brought these guests on, you're putting this effort into it, you're creating valuable that can lead to revenue and all these different things. Do you really want to lose it because you don't want to spend the 10 minutes to just set it up, let it download, do something else in your life, come back and do what you got to do? Ooh, $99 for a 4 terabyte Seagate thing that you can buy a few of those for different things or different podcasts or different whatever mediums. It's not that much when you think of the reality of if you lost it all.
Exactly. And believe me, I'm there. I lost a lot of what I put time and effort into.
I empathize with you. That's hard. That's heavy.
Yeah, not anymore. I've got everything backed up. Everything. Because I'm in the process of building my own NAS system, right? So, I've got all these hard drives. I'm just waiting to find the right one that I want to get that works for me. So
it's crazy.
But you got to do it.
It's funny, I've recognized now that being 2020, it's almost like that's a legitimate response. When I see something else that happens, Troy, it's 2020. And it's like, this year has been changed. I mean, sure, we've had traumatic loss in the political celebrity world for those who are, big sports fans or whatever. A lot of people still without jobs. A lot of people are now leaning more toward marketing and everything else. Us digital marketers, I'm not saying we got a leg up, but it's like for once people are start seeing and hearing what we're doing. It's a big shift. And I know you're leading the way in a lot of these conversations, helping a lot of folks navigate through the trenches of this new terrain. What do you see as something that's going to be more fruitful at the latter half of this year for marketers?
Honestly, it's so cliche to say, and that rhymes. No, but it is very cliche. But it's like, if you can just weather the storm and you can stay top of mind with your customers, they may not even be able to afford your products, your services, or whatever right now. But if you're there still with them, basically holding their hand through all this, they're going to be there in the end as well. So right now, it's even more important to be in constant contact. And I'm not pumping them. That was just the way that it came out. In constant contact with your most dedicated brand advocates, because those are going to be the ones that get you through this time, because you're helping them through this time. And they're going to remember that when everything gets back to normal.
Right. I think of the people who are successful on Vine, right? Mm-hmm. And they build those communities. They didn't buy it. They put in the work and made it all pure content.
Yep.
And understand what the audience want and just duplicated that. And when Vine shut down, the most successful ones, what did they do? The audience followed them wherever they went.
Of course.
Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. And then if it gets stale, they go on TikTok. The people come there, but they get new people all the time. Right. You can't be just so mundane on, I'm really good at just LinkedIn. That's good. Keep that up. I'm really good at Twitter. But I'm also that in any wicked moment, if Twitter shuts down, the Fine Shore brand still lives on because that's me. It's not tied into just a social platform and one way of medium, and that's it.
That's right.
Just how your brand is touching every point that you have a little bit there. I may focus on Facebook, less on LinkedIn or whatever, but guess what? My content is forever, and I can distribute that whenever I want. And that's how a lot of marketers really need to think about versus just trying to check mark off a box. Okay, I did this on Twitter or Facebook. It's a little bit deeper than that.
It's way deeper than that. And unfortunately, a lot of people buy into these kind of best practice checklist things like, oh, if you want to be successful on social media, you have to do this, this, this. And if you check all these boxes, that's it. That is not it. I don't like best practices for the simple fact that that doesn't work for me. You have to come up with your own best practices. You may have a best practice list for Facebook. You may have another one for Twitter. You may have another one for YouTube. I know I do. I put different content on all these different platforms. Right. It's speaking to the same message, right? But it's different because people on those platforms consume content in different ways.
And things evolve all the time. And we're not saying when we put these plans in together every year, every month, or every quarter that it may not work. And we have to try something different.
And a lot of times it doesn't. I mean, I can't tell you like all the content calendars that I have set up for the brands that I manage. I mean, they change monthly. Hell, sometimes weekly. They're just always evolving because as the audience interacts more and they tell me more what they want to see, and people you don't understand that, look at your analytics. That's your audience talking to you directly. So you create content that's getting more engagement. And then the next month you look at it again, and then you keep trimming the fat. And then all of a sudden, every single piece of content you post, your audience is just craving it. Now, it may be video for 1 month, and then the next month they may want to see funny memes. You just have to keep in contact with what your audience wants. And that's how all this stuff evolves. There is no best practice checklist that's going to make you a success on social media. There just isn't.
Social listening. Keep it simple. You need to listen. And we both have had to deal with clients, and we'll say, well, the audience is telling me this. Well, I built this structure up for the year. This is my forecast. I'm going to live by that.
Yep.
And I'm like, but listen to what they're saying. Listen to what they need. It's a relationship, y'all. If you treat it like a relationship, it's gonna make sense. It's gonna click because it's a give and take versus I'm broadcasting only. I'm just doing the system. I'm doing the metrics. I'm checking this off. You can't. And I get some people are set that way. I get you need that depending on your industry to some degree. But when it comes to creation and community, there has to be some fluidity. There has to be a lot of swaying and understanding of how this works more effectively through social listening of your audience. And they need to feel like they're being heard, not just, one way or another. And I think that's the other thing that us marketers, if we've been in this game for a minute, so we're kind of like a little toughen up from some of the rejection, or, okay, we're going to have to push a little bit harder. But for all those who are now new in 2020, whether they're a new marketer or they had to double down on digital marketing, this is something that we've had to dealt with, that we're trying to encompass this knowledge onto you, is that you need to listen. And I get forecast when you can, but don't be too deep where you have to live it like a Bible only. Mm-hmm. And for those who aren't religious, I get that, just a reference, a point. Don't be so stuck on the checklist that if something is, again, the whole thing about the black squares, when we're doing that, oh my goodness, should I still post? Sure. I'm like, well, what do you think you should do?
Yeah.
Are you okay with the PR nightmare that could happen if you don't? or if you do. If maybe your audience is not like that, but you want to take that stand, whatever makes sense for you, you have to do that. These are moments where the checklist, the little Bible you made for the beginning of the year, the forecast, goes out the window because it doesn't matter, because we're in the moment right now. 2020 is shaking up everything, and all these different speaking things and all the different things that they said that were predicting what's going to happen. They couldn't predict for this.
No.
But you know how Eddie has withstood all this, adjusting, pivoting, building a strong community, advocates like myself. That's like, he brings really good value. I've done added folk to this group that I've heard through the grapevine. They've gotten results just by being in the group and hearing what they're doing and everything else. So again, you build that strong community. You can weather the storm that's happening in 2020 and beyond. This is why we're on live. This is why we're taking the time out of our busy schedules to do this for you. We care about our community. Anytime Eddie messages me, I'm like, okay, brother, let me know.
I mean, I hit you up. I hit you up last night, right? Because we were going on Twitter, and I was like, hey, let's just jump on a live tomorrow. Are you good? Yep. Yeah. All right, cool.
And that's what brands need to have right now. If you're not doing that, it's a one-on-one personal relationship now. It's not just numbers anymore.
No. And truth be told, it never really was.
Exactly.
We can make it all out to be like, oh, and when we do our reports at the end of the month and the year, oh, we grew by this amount, and they all look fine and they all look nice and flashy, but the real thing comes back down to exactly what you just said, having these conversations with your community. Did you generate sales? Because truth be told, in the end, that's all that really matters. The bottom line of business is the bottom line. That's just what it is.
Can we talk about just a quick moment, because now that I have you on, I want to hear your thought on it. One thing I've recognized in marketing, a lot of times marketers like to separate from sales. In reality, they need to really work with sales, because no matter how much engagement, no matter what the vanity metrics are or whatever, if that can't be quantified into salvageable dollars and cents for the bottom line, the profitability and revenue of the company that pays for your salary or whatever your commission or bonuses are, you're not going to produce, and they're going to use that against you to say, hey, you're not performing as a marketer. But many marketers, I think, are leaning more toward, I want to be a creator and artist, but they're not a marketer. They're claiming themselves as a marketer, because marketer is an art of science and data and visuals and creativity, and combining that all together to result in numbers. Sure, build community, sure, engagement, but ultimately revenue that's sustainable over time. How have you helped your clients kind of pivot and get away from just, I want to create? Well, we want to create, but does this make sense to your budget, and does this make sense to your bottom line?
So for me, I have been extremely lucky with the brands that I've been able to work with, because I work with predominantly small business owners that are very locally focused. And it's funny, because anytime that I've worked with big chains, like big time names like Disney or SeaWorld or anybody that I've worked with, they want both. They want the whole ball of wax. They expect to grow by these huge vanity metrics, and they expect social media to generate all this revenue for them. And when it doesn't, the finger gets pointed at who? Us. On the flip side, when I'm managing social media for these local restaurants, and I basically become them on, let's just say, Facebook, and I'm having conversations with their fans because I post a picture of a new pizza for the week, and they talk about it, and they're like, oh my God, this looks so good. Hey, come in, mention you saw this on Facebook, and we'll give you 10% off. All of a sudden, they get 50 people walking in the door throughout the week saying, hey, I saw this on Facebook. Look at the post, gives me 10% off. Boom. There is a direct line of return on investment that says, yes, I saw this on Facebook. I talked to you, not knowing it's me. I talked to Joe's Pizza down the street on Facebook, and all of a sudden Facebook is making me money. Like I said, I've been very lucky with that. They understand that this is a marathon, and they need to have this because they have to stay in front of their customers' eyes, especially with what we're going through now. When everybody was quarantined, right? Because if they did not know that this restaurant was doing delivery and pickup, which they normally didn't do, they would have probably closed their doors. But they were able to sustain sales because of Facebook.
Hey, however people feel about social media, social media is the highway, and it's the way to connect directly. It's going to be even more pivot now that more than ever. Sure, I do agree that depending on your audience and what your industry is, there is a burnout. If we're doing lives on Zoom, you're doing conference calls all day with different folk, maybe you don't want to spend another hour watching a live right away. But guess what? You can take the snippets and put it in digestible pieces on TikTok, on Instagram, on Facebook that could lead to the longer forms on Facebook Live or YouTube to push those narratives, convert it to a podcast, Audible. I'm not saying, but I'm saying there is no excuse to finding the audience, finding the medium that works, and do it. It takes time and effort. Yes. It takes convincing. Yes. But you got to be strategic. And then tying this all back together with the top of the conversation about security, it is doing so that I'm building this community that they know how I talk. They know how I sound. We have this trust and validation. If something is posted after all this work and building this community up to where it needs to be, the community will not burn me. The community will be there to support me and advocate for me and navigate through this. Oh my goodness. They're not going to think, oh, why would they say that? I'm going to shut them down. I'm going to boycott that restaurant or that brand because of what they just said from a political standpoint. Right. No, it's like they would never do this. They would never say this. I'm going to support them. I'm going to tell everyone, don't do this, whatever, until we shut it down. That's the point of having a strong community, as not just as a way to generate revenue and leads, but to protect the brand name and the brand's sake as well.
Yes. What people don't understand is nobody wants to be sold, but people are very willing to buy. There's a huge difference between the two. And I have this note that I wrote down the other day, and I'm going to read it. It says, sociology is the study of society, patterns of social relationships, social interaction, and culture that surrounds everyday life. And then I put, sound familiar, social media managers? It better. You need to be crafting content into your audience's lives, not pushing the sale. And I wrote that down because I wanted to remember that. And I cannot remember even where I read it, but I wanted to make sure that I got it correct when I said it.
Wow, that is powerful. Sounds like we should both have degrees in all of this by now. Just start teaching folk about it. But that's really how it is.
That's at one point in my career, I thought I wanted to be a teacher. So that's kind of why I started the Digital Media Creator Academy, so I could actually kind of fulfill that.
I see what you did there. I see what you did there.
Yeah.
It's amazing. It's amazing. I don't know. I'm concerned. I'm glad, what I'm not seeing anymore as much is the what's going to be the predictions of marketing in 2020. I don't see any of that anymore because I think people don't want to push something out there and then get burned because it didn't come to fruition.
Yep.
We're seeing a lot more trust and authenticity in communication, which I love. I think we're having more honest conversation. I think if we look at 2020, if we look at the Black Lives Matter movement, all these other things that have come to pass, if anything has resulted is that people are now just being more honest, being more upfront, being more blunt about where they stand, what they want, what they need. And I think this gives us a better data point to make decisions through the data that we've had in years past, because we kind of have to guess. No, it's very clear where they stand, what they want, what they need, and can I help them or not, or whatever that might be for your brand or your business too.
I 1000% agree. And it's about time. There's been a lot of, social media for the longest time has just been kind of shallow, best life, best this. No one ever talked about how bad their day was. They always talked about, I made this sale or I did this. They never said, oh man, I lost a customer. Now I'm going to have to go get a second job. No one ever talks about that.
No.
But it happens because guess what, guys? We are all people and we all go ups and downs. And honestly, if you communicate that with your community, they actually take you more seriously when you're actually trying to pitch them something, because they're like, you know what? He's been so authentic with me. He's been very open. He shares the ups. He shares the downs, the goods, the bads, whatever. Now, all of a sudden, he has something or she has something that I can use. I'm going to buy it from them because I've trusted them for 2 years.
And think of all the folk who put on that high level facade, that high level, hey, Ross, things have been going on through the grapevine, whatever. And now they're asking for help. They're like, dude, you're on a yacht. Not knowing that was like 6 months ago, scheduled out post, whatever. You've been on a yacht. You're doing this. You're doing that. Why would I want to support you and help you now? You seem like you got plenty of money. You got all this stuff. I've never once seen you struggle. I've never once seen you that. Now, I'm not saying put all your dirty laundry on there just for social glory. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying like what Eddie, piggyback on what Eddie said, just being more authentic and just sharing some nuggets of things to just make you more relatable, make you connect more on this screen and not just, oh, Eddie and Troy, they're so high up the totem pole because they have the courage to get a mic and just go live and have a conversation. Guess what? We would be doing the same thing if I lived in this area over, in a bar or whatever, at a restaurant or whatever, having these same discussions. And if you could bring that same communication on the screen, people are going to want to tune in. People are going to give comments. People are going to want to engage. They're going to want to tell somebody. Like word of mouth isn't dead. Communication.
Oh, no.
All this stuff is still straight. It's just the fact that it's coming through a digital channel that may be just more older, traditional print variations of communication in times past.
Oh yeah, because I have this notes that I always just write down stuff, and this one says the most powerful marketing for brands are personal recommendations from consumers who tell their friends about their business or experience with their business. Nothing becomes infectious more than one of your friends going to a place and giving it their full recommendation. And when they do that on social media, it's just amplified to the nth degree. So yes, word of mouth to me is always still the best marketing.
Always.
Because
I mean, shoot.
You look at me and you see something, you're like, hey, Eddie, your mic sounds great. What kind of mic is it? And I'll tell them what kind of mic I'm using. They take that as a personal recommendation because I'm using it. They like the way it sounds. They're going to go buy that mic. Not because I'm Eddie Garrison or Troy Sandidge is using it, because it sounds better than what they have. And if I'm using it and they consider me somebody in this space, they're like, wow, this guy is using it. I need that piece of equipment because Troy Sandidge is using it.
And everybody is an influencer. Let's make this very clear. You don't need a blue check mark. Sure, this word influencer, depending on who you talk to in the marketing industry, is a disdained word, but also is an established word that sometimes we have to use to get search, to get people to understand what we do, because there isn't another word that's a little more authentic than that because people are abusing it. My point is, though, is that everyone is an influencer. If you have a mic, whether that be on your phone, on your laptop, whatever, just start creating. And that sounds like everyone tells me that. Whatever. How do you think how do you think we got started? I've been watching Ross. I've been watching Eddie. They've helped me developing, like, I need to step up my quality game. First, it was being consistent. I'm like, I need to step up my mic. I need to step up my lighting. I need to step up my mobile ability, because the excuse is always, well, I don't do high production. Live stream kind of killed that. Well, now you just go live. You don't got to do the YouTube style production. You can, but you can just go in because people care for that value of content and what they're trying to do. So we're trying to, like, hey, there's no excuse. Get out there and start doing it. And there's enough experts. I count myself blessed being in your group and in various other groups that we mutually shared, that people are just dropping so much free nuggets that's not behind a paywall or a mastermind group. No shade to mastermind groups. There is validity for those too as well. That has helped me evolve. And then we're just, the same group, this ecosystem is trying to bestow that same knowledge to those. So if you're in the group that we're trying to push and other things, get in there, get involved. It doesn't hurt.
Free, guys. I'm not charging you. Ross Brand, what's going on? My spirit animal of live streaming. If people can't relate to you, they tune you out unless you're real world famous versus internet famous. That's a good point, though. Yeah.
I thought about, what made me think about this blue verification thing is, like, if I had it, right? Would I rather have it and just say something and people just engage because of the sake of me having it, or they're engaging with it because I actually said something that meant something to them?
Yeah.
A lot of these celebrities, they compose the dumbest stuff and people just sharing it, not because it brought value, but because they just shared it. And they think, oh, look at me. I'm leaning in on this train to get trend, or they'll do some alternative thing about it. It had me really think about, where are your priorities as a brand and what you really want people to see you as, beyond these check marks that we're trying to achieve, or a certain number of followers, or a certain number of features of Instagram. I get 10,000 now. I can do the swipe up feature, which if you just do IGTV and post it to your IG, you get the same effect on the link. But I digress. It's the things around that. It's just, you've had clients that come in and say, I want this try. I want to do this. I want this many things. Well, okay, what does this mean for you? Is this just an ego? Like, if that's what you want, and let's just call it what it is, I just need an ego scratcher for myself, for validity, to feel better about whatever my brand is not doing, because I need to manage my business better. Okay, well, let me know. And if you want me to pay for me to just help you do that, just to help you out, fine. But me as a marketer, I'd rather provide value that results in revenue for your business, revenue for the people who work for you, and brand establish, not just an ego stroke.
Exactly. Because I see people all the time that are verified or have 100,000 followers on Instagram, and they post a piece of content and it gets like 4 likes. Like, how is that even possible? You have 100,000 followers and you can only muster up 4 likes. You know why? Your content sucks. That's just the bottom line. That's what it is.
And you probably pay for your followers too.
Exactly.
Or you put in an ad for just follower base, but you didn't establish a community within that follower base.
Yep. You know what I wanted to get back to, because I really liked your idea. And it Facebook actually had something very similar a few years back, to where there was multi-levels of their check mark. So like on a public figure, if you weren't famous, you would get like a gray check mark.
Right.
And then if you were somebody of merit or an actual brand, you would get a blue check mark. I think that is a great idea. And I think that's what social media platforms should do, because I go back to my original point where I believe everybody should have to be verified in some way, shape, or form.
I agree. And I think, unfortunately, the way society works, I think social accounts platforms need to make it very clear the definition and not living in ambiguity of what's this definition and what its purpose. Twitter for years are like, oh, it was just meant to just confirm, when they know, well, this is for everyone's trying to get there to, hey, if I get the blue check, I'll get the puff, I'll get all this and this and this and whatever. Platforms really need to make it clear, and we need this validation. We need it. And do not, provide it to those who are spewing hate, can cause people's lives and revenue, all these different things. There needs to be some regulation too. And if you don't have the team and process and systems in place to manage the good and the bad that could come from that, then yeah, we should wait. Now, Twitter's been waiting for I don't know how long. That process got crazy because a lot of marketers are like, well, what are you doing all day? I'm just submitting a form to be verified every X amount of days. Try again. I'm getting paid for it to do that. I'm like, okay, give me something deeper than that we can do beyond just a check. Because guess what, brands? Let's say we help you get the check today. You woke up the next day and your account has got a blue check. Now what? You still got to build a community. You still need a content plan and structure. You act like that blue check means millions of dollars is going to happen. It won't. It won't.
People say it all the time, and I firmly agree with this. The last time that I was able to pay my rent with likes on my Facebook page was this many times. 0. Doesn't work that way, guys. What Troy has been peppering you guys with this entire time is if you're not building a community, not necessarily just on social media, but off of social media as well, you're just setting yourself up for doom and gloom, because at some point, all this is going to be taken away. Look how easily it was on Twitter, right? It can all go away right now. Somebody could step on the plug and unplug it by accident, or somebody could hack somebody and tear their servers up. Anything can happen. You don't own any of this, right? That's just what it is.
And I talk about that universe concept, is that the more touch points you have with them, the better you evolve. Like, if Twitter goes away, guess what? I know Eddie on Facebook. I have it on LinkedIn. Oh, you know what? I know we've had the relationship so much that if I didn't have his email, I'd probably reach out and say, hey, let me get your email. So let me get that newsletter when you're ready to go. Let me text you, blah, blah, blah. All these different touch points. So yes, you do want to make sure that if you filter off your leads and filter off your audience segments, that those top level ones and even the medium level ones, you want to have those extra touch points of encouragement to follow other accounts, to get their email, to get their phone number, to be in the know. Not that you want to spam them, but for various purposes like this. And you can even make a funny thing about, oh, hey, are you the only one having trouble posting on Twitter right now? Let's go jump on a Facebook group and talk about it.
Oh, yeah. There is ways to spin negativity in your favor, especially a trending topic like this. I mean, I've seen it a lot of times. I remember one year in the Super Bowl when the lights went out, Oreo jumped on that thing like nobody's business and had an awesome piece of content that they just did on the fly, and it went viral, right? And everybody remembered it. Yeah. So there's ways to spin positive out of almost every negative that comes up, especially on social media.
All right, Eddie, real quick. If Twitter gives you a blue check, they said you wanted it today, would you take it?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Why not? I'd put it on my business card, verified.
Right.
No,
I can dig on there, like, yep, there it is.
I wouldn't. No, I would take it, of course, because like I said, I think everybody should have some level of verification on these platforms, because it's too easy for me. And I mean, I can just give you an example of somebody that we both know, Dale Roberts, right? His account just got spoofed. And just last night, I saw his wife's account has now been spoofed.
Oh, no.
And it's spread rumors about, and obviously everybody knows that it's false, but that's how easy it is to get on there, and your name could be smeared without you even knowing it.
Wow.
So I think there should be some level of verification for every account on social media that proves that, yes, you are Troy Sandidge. Yes, that is Ross Brand. To me, I can't fathom why I could go on Twitter right now and start a Ross Brand account, or start another Troy Sandidge account. And maybe if you don't know yourself personally, they'd be like, wow, that guy's a jackass. I could just say whatever I wanted under your name, and nobody would know it wasn't you.
Your one account had hacked you to change the whole username again. Let's say we didn't process. I'm like, oh, Eddie Garrison at Eddie Garrison is the one I know. Yep. But Eddie Garrison 2 is your new account because everyone got, hacked. that check needs to be validated for this one. That way we know this is the one we're talking about. Not
exactly.
That was compromised. And
that's what I was trying to get at. Like, why I believe that everybody should be at some level of verification to prove that it is in fact you. But wow, man, we've been almost talking an hour.
These checks, man.
You got to get them. So, Troy, I do want to thank you. I know I kind of reached out to you on a whim, but thank you so much for carving out some time for me today. I'm sure everybody thoroughly enjoyed listening to you because you was dropping it like you always do, man.
I learned from the best, my friend. I learned from you the best, my friend.
Ross is here. I know. So, all right, guys. I want to thank Troy for taking time as my dogs come busting into my office. But you guys, if like Troy said, if you want to learn some more about this, totally free, Digital Media Creator Academy Facebook group. Check it out today. I'm in there. I run the group. Troy is in there. Ross is in there. Everybody's in there just dropping knowledge 100% free. So, guys, until next Monday, 3 p.m., see you on the next broadcast. Thanks for joining us.